Good morning. I'd like to call to order today's meeting of Nevada Department of Transportation Board of Directors for Monday, October 10th, 2022. Could I ask the clerk to take the roll, please?
Good morning. Governor Steve Sisolak.
Here.
Lieutenant Governor Lisa Cano Burkhead. Oh, she's here. She's coming to the door. Controller Catherine Byrne.
Here.
Member Virginia Valentine.
Here.
Member Stephen Esquaga.
Here.
Member Justin Cal.
Here.
Member Gary Perea.
Here.
And Lieutenant Governor Lisa Cano Burkhead.
Here.
Governor, you have a forum.
Thank you. I'd like to move on to item close the roll call. Move on to number 2, public comment. This is the first time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item on today's agenda. Items that are on the agenda, please step forward, identify yourself for the record, and comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
Governor, we have no one registered for public comment at this time, and I don't see anyone coming forward.
Anybody want to talk? We're all here to listen, huh? Okay, do we have anybody in Las Vegas?
We don't have anyone in Las Vegas, Governor.
Thank you. I'll close item number 2, public comment, move on to item number 3, the director's report. Director Sol, go ahead.
Good morning, members of the board. I have a little bit of a longer update this month. I wanted to give you a little bit of a highlights from the federal fiscal year that closed at the end of September and provide you an update on the HRV. So bear with me, it's a little longer than normal. As I normally do, I'm going to start with traffic safety. We do not have the numbers yet, so I'm going to just focus on some policy areas. So if you didn't figure it out, winter is coming. Fall has been beautiful, but winter comes right after that, and we are actively working to get ready for our winter maintenance. So during winter maintenance, our professionals perform nearly 75 different types of work tasks throughout the year, and that includes snow, ice removal, debris removal, roadway patching, sweeping, slope enhancements, and more. We began our preparations for winter in the early fall by readying our snow plows and other pieces of snow and ice equipment for snow removal across northern Nevada, or Nevada as a whole, I should note. We stockpile salt and sand at maintenance stations across the state to make it easier and safer travel on winter highways. We do still have significant vacancies. Our northwestern part of Nevada, where we are today, Governor, you and I, we're at 34% lower than what we should be normally. So we are still pushing ahead to try to hire some temporary winter workers. Last year that wasn't super successful, but we're sending out good vibes to hopefully hire some temporary seasonal workers to support our efforts this winter as we come up. But while we're working to prepare us and our team for the winter roads, we're also asking drivers to prepare themselves. And some winter driving reminders for people who are tuned in is pack a winter driving safety kit, including an ice scraper, snow shovel, jumper cables, flashlight, small bag of sand or cat litter for traction, first aid supplies, extra medication if needed. Avoid driving in severe weather whenever possible. And if you must travel and during severe weather, check weather and road conditions by downloading the Nevada 511 app, dialing 511, or logging on to nvroads.com. Make sure to check chain controls as well. Leave enough time to safely get to your destination. When it's winter driving conditions, it will take you extra. And always buckle up. In the safety space, I was really excited last week to present some safety awards to our workers, our maintenance workers 1 through 3. Last week, we were able to present over 136 awards for being accident-free on the job, including 15 team members who've been accident-free for at least 10 years. So it was really good to recognize their safe habits. In November, we're actually going to be looking and doing the same thing with our worker 4s, our supervisor 1s, supervisor 2, and managers, and we're anticipating handing out 144 additional awards for their safe habits. And so we are super excited about our team. We thank them for being superstars and good examples to NDOT and others on the road. All right, this is what I talked about. I wanted to mention a little bit of some of the great things that have happened in the last federal fiscal year. So first, the bipartisan infrastructure law, which is delivering more than $2.7 billion over the next 5 years. We finished year 1. In that bill, in addition to that, or as part of that $2.7 billion, we'll receive $225 million specifically for bridges, $38 million for EV infrastructure. We won a grant. That's why I said at least $2.7 billion, because we are going to be out there and competing for discretionary grants and make sure we bring every dollar we can back to Nevada. That $88 million is going to help us with North 395 and help us with some multimodal improvements on the northern reaches of Virginia Street. So we're very excited. It's a partnership with the RTC of Northern Nevada. As I mentioned last month, that $101 million in additional federal highway spending authority was critical to help us make sure that we can deliver our program. We generally budget for that and plan our projects so that we can use every last dime should it become available. But that's an extra burden on the team to plan for projects that you don't know if you're going to get authority for. But we compete, and we compete well, and we tend to be able to deliver more to Nevadans as a result. And as I mentioned, it was a record-breaking program last year, $501 million in federal funding. That's the most we've ever had that I'm aware of. 58 contracts awarded, $200 million in additional state funding. That all goes to 1,500 lane miles that we awarded projects to improve on, and almost 9,100 job years were supported in our program last year. All right, got to pause for the pictures. All right.
Impressive.
All right, some other program highlights. We are continuing to develop our data-driven One Nevada plan. When we started this 2 years ago, it was really just about how do we deliver next year's plan in a data-driven way, and we're now working on shaking out the mid and long range to make sure that the entire program, as we develop it, is data-driven, and we're looking at how do we make sure that we can communicate not just this first 4 years that the board approves and approved this past September, but what's coming in that next 4 years. We often know what it is, but we don't have the data to show it, and so we're looking at really fleshing that out and made good strides on that this last year. We rolled out our local road safety plans and have started piloting that with the local agencies, recognizing that a lot of the safety challenges we have in Nevada are on local roads, so we rolled out a new program there. We completed our speed management plan and are leaning into the implementation of that. And then something that we never even mentioned to the board, but is really super exciting, is part of our environmental stewardship efforts. We chose a new Portland limestone cement. I call that the flour in the cake. So when you think about your cake, it's the flour in the concrete, the flour in the cake. So this is for our paving projects. It will help reduce carbon dioxide emissions by approximately 4,000 tons per year. So one way that we're reducing our impact on greenhouse gas emissions across the state. We continue to be leaders in reducing animal vehicle collisions, one of the best in the nation, and working to leverage additional funding that's available in the bipartisan infrastructure law to continue to be in that space. And then, as you know, for at least the last 8 years, and once again, we were ranked the best bridges in the nation. Super excited about that. Love that when people travel across our state, they know that they're safe, they know that our infrastructure works, and I'm excited about some of those. That's just a few of the highlights, but I wanted to spend a minute and talk to the board about them. One more thing in the highlight space is I just wanted to thank the governor for putting together the Nevada Infrastructure Summit so that we had the chance to facilitate a panel in the bottom left corner. That was a panel that I moderated with transportation and other leaders in the space. So we had MJ Maynard really talking about the role transit plays in connecting Nevadans to jobs, but not just to jobs, but to recreation. They've been leaning in and really making sure to provide public transit opportunities for high school students in Southern Nevada. And they're finding those high school students aren't just riding the bus to get to school, they're riding the bus to get to jobs on the weekend, to get to the movies, to get to the fun things that they want to do. We had two labor representatives, Frank Hawk and Tommy White, really telling us, how we as state and local transportation providers can be more beneficial, how we can help them and helping our workers, but also the critical role that labor provides in delivering the program. We had Mayor Sheevy talking about the micro-mobility program that she's delivering in the city of Reno with scooters and bikes, and really making sure that it's safe for everyone to travel in whatever mode they choose in downtown Reno. And then lastly, we had Sherry Ely Mendez talking about the critical role of transportation for tribal communities throughout the state. So really focusing in and leaning in on the rural, urban challenges, opportunities, and how we all work together to deliver a transportation system that works for the state of Nevada. All right, the second thing that's going to take me a minute is the HOV study and hours of operations pilot. So back in 2019, before I even get to that, I'm going to just give a little historic why we have these HOV lanes. So in southern Nevada, we have over 20 miles of continuous HOV lanes on US 95 from Elkhorn in the Northwest Valley through the Spaghetti Bowl and down I-15 to Silverado Ranch Boulevard. The HOV lanes are dedicated lanes that are used exclusively by vehicles with 2 or more occupants as well as motorcycles. And by encouraging motorists to carpool, we remove cars from the highway, reducing peak period travel time compared to general purpose lanes for those in the HOV lanes, and we move more commuters than a general purpose lane can. It gives all drivers on the network a more reliable commute and reduced stress while also saving money for those who are sharing a ride compared to those who drive alone every day. Additionally, and one thing that we never really focus on, but we should, is HOV lanes provide a better collision response times for first responders and thereby also help reduce secondary collisions, many of which can also prove to be fatal. And I think the key reason, and the one that we talked about, and it's kind of baked in, removing cars from the highway, is we improve air quality and greenhouse gas emissions by doing that. So they're not only a solution to reducing, gridlock and pollutants on our highways, but they're also important in our multi-pronged approach to improving the movement of people, as well as the movement of the goods that we all rely on across southern Nevada. So in 2019, we opened the next segment of the HOV lanes, that segment from the Spaghetti Bowl down to Silverado Ranch. Before that, it was just in that northwest quadrant of the valley. And when we did that, the hours of operation went to 24/7. And Governor and members of the board that were with us at the time, you may remember there was some controversy. And so we said we would work on looking at what that means. The first thing that we did was some of the entries and the exits that we had weren't working the way we had intended them. So in 2019 and 2020, we revised those to make sure that the system overall was allowing the vehicles in that we wanted in and allowing people to get out when they needed to. So that was the first thing we did. We also started the study using a data-driven approach initially to see if there was anything in the system models that showed that we needed to maintain the 24/7. When we found that we may have some flexibility in there, we hired a consultant to look at the hours and the functionality of the interstate. And when we did that, what we found is that Southern Nevada does not have that typical commuting bump that most communities do. And I would even argue that a lot of communities are migrating away from that today in general, and we're seeing more changes in the way people commute with working from home as we come out of the pandemic. But Southern Nevada in particular, and anyone who's driven in Southern Nevada knows that the traffic at 3 p.m. can be just as bad as the traffic at 7 a.m. And our data shows that. So the commute begins on the weekdays right around 5 a.m. and it stays steady all the way until about 8 p.m. when it finally starts to taper off. The weekend, you can see on the chart, is fairly similar, just shifted a little bit. And so our pilot study is recommending that we open the HOV lanes to all from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. 7 days a week. So during those commuting hours, and we're holding it the same on weekdays and weekends because they're close enough to the same, but also we don't want to create any confusion. And that is one thing that we hear from the community a lot, is that it has to be consistent and it can't be different on one versus the other. So it's going to be open to all from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., but from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. during the day and early evening hours and early morning hours, it will be HOV only. So we are looking at making these changes in later this month, in late October. The changes will happen the weekend of October 21st through 23rd. So beginning the morning of October 24th, the new hours will be in effect. We do know that there are Raiders games and Golden Knights games that weekend, so we are going to be working the installation around that so we don't interfere with the functionality of the interstate for anyone wanting to get to those games. And we will continue to monitor. So the pilot study is still in process and will be in process all the way through the completion of an analysis of this. So it's another 18 months. We're going to get reports roughly every 3 months on how it's working, how it's functioning. And if we see a significant degradation in the safety of the network, we will roll it back. If we see there might be opportunity to adjust further, we may adjust further, but we're working on making sure that we're consistent and we're providing a network that meets the goals of the system as a whole. So working to make sure that we have a system that works and that we're listening to the public. All right. Next, the future is electric. We keep talking about EVs, and I was very excited. We were amongst the first states to get approval for our National EV Infrastructure Plan, our NEVI plan, which will secure and allow us to invest $38 million over the 5-year life of the bill into EV infrastructure. As we developed our plan, we partnered with state, regional, and local agencies, as well as private industry, and in particular, the utility companies are a huge part of our ability to deliver this program. During this first year, which we just got approval early in September, we're going to focus on some of that infrastructure that's already built out, bringing it up to current standards. The EV infrastructure standards have been edited and upgraded throughout their life, so we want to make sure what we have is meeting the needs of today. We're also going to start looking at fully building out the infrastructure that we need on our interstates and on our primary corridors. Once those are built out, we'll be able to have more flexibility. I should note that the utility companies are significant partners in this, and we're thankful for their partnership and their ability to flex into other spaces that we can't. So it is definitely a partnership effort to deliver the vehicle EV infrastructure that we need across the state. All right, some projects. I-15 Charleston Interchange. This one, as you know, started back in August and is in full swing. Mojave Road will be having some intermittent closures, lane restrictions through the end of December. Stewart Avenue will have lane restrictions on both east and westbound daily from 6 a.m. to 5 p.m. between Pecos and Sand Hill. And we also just wrapped up a week of overnight closures on Pecos Road and want to thank the community for their patience during the work. And I'm going to be thanking the community a lot for the next several years because this project is going to impact not just the users of the 515, but those who are on all of the local roads that cross the 515 and are adjacent. We anticipate some short-term ramp closures after the new year. And for anyone who wants more information, the project has its own website in English and Spanish, i515charleston.com, for all of the traffic control details, and it is on pace to be completed in the spring of 2024. Next one, Tropicana. We are right now in the main work right now is between Flamingo and Tropicana southbound, where we have lanes reduced for work on the shoulder. Eventually, I-15 will be widened slightly to make room for the new half interchange ramp at Harmon. We also have some lane restrictions from westbound 215 to northbound I-15, where crews are working to install more of those overhead automated traffic management signs, the full width gantries. We're still a few months away from the biggest impact that we'll see on the project. So we're still in the early work days. In January, we anticipate we'll start the takedown of the Tropicana overpass, as well as the flyover from the southbound I-15 to eastbound Trop. So now is definitely the time to start preparing. We urge anyone who drives in the area to sign up for email alerts at i15trop.com or download the free I-15 Trop app to receive push alerts and notifications when things change. Substantial completion for the project is still anticipated to be on time at the end of 2024. We do have that additional work that we agreed to with stations that'll take us out through mid-2025. Get the app now. And I did want to just remind everyone that the HOV lanes are open to general purpose throughout the work zone and the duration of this project. We have heard some concerns regarding the HOV lane functionality south of the project, and so we're working with the public to figure out what makes most sense so that we have a system that works and isn't confusing and doesn't increase the opportunity for crashes due to that confusion. So we're working on that. And then I think I have two more project updates. I-15, 215 North Interchange. This is an exciting project that was pretty much almost entirely constructed during the pandemic. I think we let the project in late of 2019, and they just got out there and they got to work to deliver this new system-to-system interchange. So this will now have new direct connect ramps between I-15 and Clark County 215 in the Northeast Valley. It also reconfigures local streets to improve traffic flow around the interchange. We will provide landscape and aesthetic enhancements. And you know, sometimes when I talk about landscape and aesthetic enhancements, we're excited about them because we know it makes them look good. But the reason we do these is to really help with air quality and stormwater quality, to make sure that we don't have dust blowing and errant dust in our water system. So that's the real reason why we do these landscape and aesthetic enhancements. It also makes maintenance at some level easier because it's less likely to be tagged, so there's less graffiti and abatement. And it will have separate project, there's a separate project currently expanding I-15 to 3 lanes in both directions from the Speedway to 93. So that one's also going, just news on that one, it's just going. But the good news is on this one, the full freeway to freeway interchange is just weeks away from substantial completion. We expect all of the flyover ramps linking I-15 to 215 will be finished before Thanksgiving. And so all of those businesses that have moved out there during the boom are going to appreciate having the better connections. Ribbon cutting date, we're excited to actually have, I think this might be our first ribbon cutting since the pandemic. We're working on setting that date, so look for that, members of the board. It should be sometime in November. And then my last project, I-15 Mesquite. This project has been, for anyone who commutes to and through Mesquite, this one has been painful for the last more than a year. This project has included extensive repairs to a couple of bridge structures, as well as installation of ITS cables under one of the northbound travel lanes. So, and these cables are critical to help link our cameras and traffic sensors together so we can bring Mesquite into the regional traffic system. They're not currently, which will ultimately help us predict delays and communicate those issues better to drivers who are commuting through the area. So for months, I think it's been more than just months, I think it's almost been a year or more, we've had both directions of I-15 down to 1 lane through part of that work zone. And that's caused some lengthy backups and some frustrations during weekends or when a crash occurred. Well, we're done with that phase. The semi-permanent single lane closures are all complete. Crews will still need to finish milling and paving the project, but that work does not require the hard barrier rail closures that we've needed to maintain to date. So we can restore all lanes in both directions from Friday morning to Monday morning going forward. So weekends, it'll be free flowing through the zone. We're very excited about that. And then lastly, as I mentioned, when I gave the highlights, we are the first month of the new federal fiscal year. And so the job years on this agenda are small. There's about 9 job years on this agenda when it gets approved at the end of our meeting. But I think that gives me the opportunity to really celebrate and reinforce the critical economic benefit of these projects. Not only do they make sure people and the things that people need can get to where they need to be, get to where they're going, but it also really helps support a vibrant economy with good jobs. And last year, our program that the board approved supported almost 9,100 jobs. So thank you for your support of our program, and we will continue doing what we can to keep Nevadans moving.
Thank you. Do we have any questions of the director on the director's report? Anybody here? Anybody down south?
No questions down here.
Thank you. Then I will close, well done, Director, thank you. I'll close item number 3, move on to section 2, the consent agenda, which includes items 4 through 10. We took the 2 off, right? So they're renumbered?
Yes.
Do we have any members who'd like to take one of the consent agenda items separately? Anybody down south?
No one down south.
Okay, do I have a motion on the consent agenda, which are items number 4 through 10 inclusive?
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Director Byrne. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Move on to section number 4, additional business items. We do not have an executive session, correct? Okay, we're going to move right on to second session of public comment. This is the second time set aside for public comment. Anyone wishing to address the board on any item on today's agenda, items that are on the agenda, or any item under our purview, please step forward, identify yourself for the record. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes.
Governor, we currently have no one registered for public comment here in Carson City.
Anybody in the audience want to get up and come on up to the microphone? Come on up, sure. Any item under our purview? Not. Correct.
Thank you, Governor and fellow board members. My name is Janet Murphy. I stand here once again in front of you. I'm the administrator of Tahoe Douglas Utility District. As you all know, you have a major project that you guys would be looking at on the east shore of the lake. 30 years I've spent my career managing the utilities and also representing the township. I also sit on the fire board. I stand here in front of you today because last time I was in front of you, I had asked that we be included in collaboration of as far as what the planning is going to be as far as putting a 2-lane, bicycle lane, turning lane, that NDOT is going to be reviewing and maybe possibly implementing in the last, upcoming 2 or 3 years. They did, you did direct them to work with Tahoe Douglas, and I met with him once, with the chairman of my board. Never met with him after that. But I do sit on the fire board, and I was told by my fire chief that they have a plan now, and they're going to be bringing it to our next meeting, unbeknownst to me. And I thought, well, who's been sitting on all these meetings? And they said, the county, the sheriff's department, which is not the Nevada Highway Patrol, county manager, one of the board commissioners, the fire department. And I asked, why hasn't I have told them once they met with me the one time at our office with the chairman of my board, because we are 90% of the East Shore. Our sewer lines are up and down the highway. I said, why haven't I been included? I went ahead and I emailed everybody that was at my first meeting, and I never got a reply that day. And finally, a day and a half later, I did get a reply, I guess, after they collaborated together, and they said, oh, that's because we've only been meeting with first responders. Well, as far as to my knowledge, I don't think the county manager or the commissioner is a first responder, but I do believe if there's a sewer spill that could possibly go into our drinking water, which is the lake, I would think Tahoe Douglas would be a first responder, because we are if there's a sewer spill. But I have not been included. I had told them over and over again, the folks from here, the gentleman that you hired, Brian, the engineer, I have not been included in any of these meetings, but obviously they've come up with some preliminary plan, because the fire chief is telling me, since I'm on the board, that our next meeting in a couple weeks, it's gonna be presented. So, I don't know why they have not included. I would think it's in their best interest to include Tahoe Douglas Utility District, because our lines are in the highway. I've been there 30 years, longer than anybody up there. Like I said, I was an advisor at the legislature for all the legislatures for 6 terms. And I don't know what to tell. I don't know what else to say. I want to be included in this because I think it's in the best interest of your constituents and the people that elected everybody that lives up there, because they don't even know what's going on, but they're coming to me and asking for answers. And I'm not being included. I feel like I'm being excluded. And my chairman's not happy. A lot of people aren't happy. The outreach, they need to do some outreach. They need to get the people involved that live there, that know that area best, like myself. I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is anybody that knows me, when I represented the township, I was advisory with Mr. Guy Hobbs, who knows me very well. He says I'm very passionate about the township, and I know it very well. Talk to him if anybody knows him. He used to be our economist for the state of Nevada, and I don't get involved unless I really think it's serious, and I think this is serious. I think you need somebody who knows the highway pretty well.
Thank you, excuse me, for your comments. Is there a reason how this slipped through the cracks?
So there is a public process, Sandra. I don't know if you're more familiar with the process we've taken on the project.
Yeah, for the record, Sandra Rosenberg, Assistant Director for Planning, and this is in regards to the US 50 East Shore Corridor Management Plan. We have done pretty extensive outreach with a number of constituencies down there. We have had public workshops. We have another public meeting coming up at the end of this month, early next month. I can get you the dates for that. We have done more outreach on this corridor study than any other before. I've talked with the consultants to make sure we're talking with Ms. Murphy. My understanding is that had occurred, and we're happy to reach out again.
Okay, thank you. if you want to get together after the meeting, maybe, and exchange some information so that you're.
I did, sir, at my first meeting, and I told them 3 times at that
Okay, no,
meeting,
I
I want to be
understand.
involved in
That-
everything they
that's-
do, but they
I
haven't done it.
I understand. That's in the past. I'm trying to fix it moving forward if I
Okay.
could. So if you could meet with the folks after the meeting and basically exchange ideas and they'll get a hold of you. Okay?
Just include me on everything like I explained. That's all I ask. That's all I ask.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak during public comment? Yes, sir.
Hi, Governor. I'm Peter Axelson with Beneficial Designs in Minden, Nevada. And I am excited to see this project move forward and the support move forward for performing the assessment, the ADA assessment of the rest stops in the state of Nevada. I think it's an opportunity to show the current administration's support of doing this work that should have been done a long time ago. And so we're very excited to make it happen and see it as an opportunity to show the effort that the state is making in this area, because rest stops are a super high priority for people visiting Nevada and all Nevada citizens to be able to get a good first impression and to identify any safety hazards for people, and especially for people with various kinds of mobility impairments. So I thank you for your attention to this issue and hope that we can bring some positive publicity for the state to recognize that these efforts are being made within the state of Nevada finally. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your comments, and it should have been done long ago. You're right, but finally we're getting to it, and hopefully I'm confident under the director's leadership that we'll be able to make some desperately needed improvements and improve accessibility for everybody. So thank you. Anyone else in Carson City? No. Okay, do I have anybody in, I lost the picture, anybody in Las Vegas?
There is no public comment in Las Vegas.
Okay, seeing none, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
I go to a lot of restaurants because I drive
Yeah.
all around and dogs. So I definitely
Gotta stop for you.
when people come in to the state, it's an impression.
Well, sure it is, yeah. Yeah, we gotta make sure that we handle it.
So my vote is